We all know how easy it is to just replace a broken item for new, when it could be just as easily repaired with a cup of tea and friends. I'll tell you something, it's something I've done a fair few times. Joining us now on Chaos TV is Peter Blenard, here to talk with us about the new St Austell Repair Cafe, part of the Cornwall Repair Cafe network. Thank you very much for joining us today, Peter.
Thank you for having me.
I loved the staring as I'm going through the details. Everyone does the thing of, how did you remember that? I say it in my sleep.
Yeah, oh, okay. Practice it in front of a mirror every day. Yeah.
I know, that's to say, it's very weird. It's weird saying it here by myself, but as I was very self-conscious with you. But it's lovely to have you in the studio. I love what we're about to talk about. Firstly, for those obviously who don't know what a repair cafe is, could you tell us a bit about it?
Well, a repair cafe is I would say a place and an opportunity. So it is a place where you can bring your broken stuff and give it a second lease of life. You can meet a volunteer repairer who can repair your item. You can sit down with a cake and cuppa and find out how you can mend it yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're fixing it yourself, that's great. You've saved something from going to the incinerator. So.
I mean, you've got me with a cake and cuppa. I won't lie.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
For example, there's a lot of people out there who, I think this happens a lot more personally because of the technology involved in things these days. So people go, I don't know anything about that or any technology. Yeah. Recently, a lot of people know out there, Nintendo Switch, what they call the Joy-Cons, the controllers.
Oh yeah.
The very early versions had what they called drift, and where there was basically a problem where dirt and dust could get into them.
Yeah, I had that problem too. So.
Same here. So for my birthday, one of my smaller gifts was a repair kit for this thing, and my other half gave it to me, and I managed to open it up, repair it, and it's number one, it saved us a fair chunk of money, and number two, is another load of waste not going to a landfill, or at the very least parts of it go to landfill. So I can't agree more. It's absolutely perfect. So what benefits are there, obviously, to these repair cafes, other than sort of helping to cut down on the consumerism?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a world which is full of stuff. We love stuff, and especially over the lockdown, there was a lot of stuff going. We would be ordering it left, right, and centre. But the problem is, we also have a culture which is very disposable. It's all about kind of, if it doesn't work, I'll throw it away. And what doesn't help are kind of certain manufacturers and things, basically making it more difficult to fix your bits and pieces. Nintendo is an interesting example because in the end they had so much pressure that they had to say, okay, we'll send them away and we'll replace them, which was astonishing.
I was thinking in America they actually had a class action lawsuit against them for the problem, which was, The
whole thing has been so interesting. And one of the benefits of repair cafes is basically, the cake and cuppa. I mean, who can turn down a cup of tea and a piece of cake? And one of the things which for me is that benefit of gaining confidence to do things yourself.
Yes. What
we're providing is not a service. It is about gaining confidence to do these things yourself. Because I know I was very lucky to have a dad who was a post-war baby, ex electrical engineer,
right?
And he used to fix everything. His office would be a treasure trove of components and bits and pieces. He didn't throw anything away,
right?
And this is what we want to encourage people to do. We want to encourage people to learn how to sew on a button. So don't throw away your shirt.
Yeah.
Sew on a button. Learn how to change a plug. Learn how to change a fuse on a plug. These very simple things actually prevent quite a lot from going to waste. And we just want to tell people, actually, you can do this yourself. These aren't really big fixes. These are little small things you can do. And to provide a safe environment in which people can do it themselves.
See, a lot of these things that you've given examples of, like you said, they're simple skills, and I feel like they're skills that go back a few years.
Yeah.
They would have been skills that anyone would have had and would have known, and nowadays it's getting less and less. But it's these simple skills that can stop so much being wasted, or just there is so much waste at the end of the day. Even if you've put things into recycling now, like you've got the electronics waste bin, for example, at a recycling centre.
Yeah.
a lot of that is still going to be removed and sent to general waste because it's only certain parts of it that's recyclable.
Yeah.
Things like changing a plug, I can't explain how weird it sounds to know that there's people who can't change a plug, and I can accept that. Don't get me wrong, but it's so simple once you've done it. It's 3 wires into certain places on a normal plug, and then once you know that, you can save so many things. It's incredible. So apart from buttons and plugs and things like that, what kind of variety is there for repairing?
Well, in repair cafes on the whole, I can tell you, I mean, you've got TVs, you've got laptops and things.
Of course.
So laptops and PCs. Now, if we take a PC for instance,
that's my area.
We can nerd out about this all day.
Absolutely.
But the PCs, for instance, actually, some people. You don't have to feel scared of your PC if something goes wrong, because everything is very modular. What you might want to do is talk to somebody who knows something about it, and then they can show you how you can replace each part. It could be your graphics card. Memory is something which goes wrong all the time, and it will shout at you. It will literally beep at you if there's a problem with your memory. But when you get 2 or 3 beeps at the beginning, it means there's a memory problem.
Yep.
There we go. You can spend 40, 50 quid on some new memory, talk to someone who knows what kind of memory to get, ask someone to pop it in for you, and that's great. And at a repair cafe, although we don't purchase the spare parts for you, we will show you, we will have an expert there who will show you how you can do that. Laptops are gradually becoming better again. They had a moment, but there is more government pressure, there's more lobbying to make manufacturers, there's a movement called Right to Repair.
I was going to move on to that in a minute. Yes, perfect.
So there's a movement called Right to Repair, because what they're finding is manufacturers, and some which will remain nameless,
of course,
had something called planned obsolescence, which was built into machines, which meant that every few years you would have to replace what you had in its entirety in order to fix it, and made it very difficult to get into your machine to replace things. And laptops and printers are the 2 things in which were becoming more difficult to replace parts for.
Yeah.
So through successful lobbying in Europe and UK government now placing a kind of a further emphasis on manufacturers thinking of the end product, and I don't mean your laptop or your PC, but where it's going to go afterwards. They are building these things these in mind. Yes, they are losing a bit of money, and this is, having something which breaks every few years and they can replace it, then they would have this constant stream. And what we're doing is basically trying to change that dynamic and saying, actually, if people have the confidence to fix it themselves, then great. And through this successful lobbying of Right to Repair, people will have more of an opportunity to do it. And then the role of repair cafes will just, become more important in today's society.
I mean, that's perfect. I'm glad you mentioned the Right to Repair, because I was thinking also about large your white goods, your kitchen goods, because through personal experience now, I've seen the kind of washing machines, for example, that my mum and my dad, bless them, when he was around, have had through the years I was growing up. And then I finally have moved into my own place, and then I've bought not the cheapest, but a fairly cheap white goods washing machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky if it lasted 2 years, and then I was told, no, you need to replace it. And I thought, but no, I've seen my parents with a 10-year-old washing machine that's maybe had a repair once, but it was about the same price then as to now. I know, obviously, economies changes and all that, but I thought, why is that? And as I realised, I now need to buy more expensive machines to do the same kind of longevity as my mum's old one. So when it actually came down to my mum getting a new one recently, I did everything I could to make sure she didn't have to. I was like, no, hold on to it, because it's still going to be better than what we can buy you. And I'm really glad to see that the Right to Repair is coming in, because my thing is, it's such a waste.
It is. And if you think a washing machine alone, although a repair cafe doesn't generally fix washing machines and fridges and things.
Imagine someone bringing one in the car, can you?
Yeah, the general rule of thumb is it should be something you can carry rather than wheel in a sack trolley. And but I mean, that's a really good example. although you can go to your local household recycling centre and take these things there, at the end of the day, you want to see longevity in the product that you're purchasing.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, you know, and these things are really expensive. If you haven't got too much coming in, then you're you know, getting a new fridge or a new washing machine is a huge outgoing, and certainly something, you know, that right to repair addresses.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Now I want to ask something, because I can imagine a lot of people wondering this. Most common item that you feel needs repairing?
Well, from the repair cafes that I've been kind of overlooking as part of the network, I think vacuum cleaners.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, vacuum cleaners is a huge thing, and certainly I'm fortunate enough to be part of a kind of a body of repair cafes across the country. And yeah, vacuum cleaners are a big thing, and computers as well. But yeah. I would say vacuum cleaners and things, and kind of being able to perform, you know, that what I mentioned about planned obsolescence, that was a huge problem in vacuum cleaners. But sometimes it can be the filter, sometimes it could be something stuck where it's not supposed to be stuck. And, you know, there are things that you can do. Sometimes you just need to kind of, you know, as long as you're not, we wouldn't advise you to dive into the electronics of a vacuum cleaner, but certainly looking at the tubing, looking at the filter, and where all the dust is collected, you know, have a delve in there, see what you can see with your eyes before.
I was going to say, a vacuum cleaner is such a good example, because I can imagine people would sometimes think, oh, my vacuum cleaner is broken. Well, actually, vacuum cleaners and so many other devices need just general servicing rather than just fixing. So like you said, you've got the filter, but you go further into a vacuum cleaner, there's more than one place that you can actually have a look than just your general filter. Then you've got the intake, and there might be something stuck in there. It's not broken, there's something stuck, or it just needs a clean. I've got not an air conditioner, I've got a dehumidifier at home. It stopped working so well, and I thought, okay, I just kicked into gear. I thought, right, I've been cleaning the filter, why isn't it working? Well, there was a filter behind the filter. And I had to pull off another. I think, oh, well, there's a layer of dust that I peeled off, and suddenly it all worked.
It's the same with, especially vacuum cleaners without dust bags and things like that. So the cyclonic ones, they have lots of filters. Dishwashers, lots and lots of filters. It's a filter behind a filter behind a filter. And sometimes it's about learning general maintenance as well. Your dishwasher, put your salt in, put your rinse aid in. It's not just about putting that tablet in, it's about that kind of general maintenance, which doesn't take long.
Simple bits of knowledge, isn't it, that can go a long way, especially in this kind of area. So let's go back to the actual repair cafe specifically. Where do you host this in St Austell? What sort of venues could be used for these cafes?
Well, we host it at a community bank, which is just opposite the old post office in St Austell. Which is, as you may have guessed, it is an old bank.
Of course.
It's a lovely place, and it's been many things in the past, including a bank. And it's nice and spacious, and there's lots of rooms that people can go into if they need something, if they want something repaired safely or in privacy. But what tends to happen is church halls is another big one. So you can have little stations, little tables. Usually generally at the front you have someone who's on reception or is kind of triaging what's what. We ask our volunteer repairers to then ask them, do you think this is something you can look at? Are you confident in what you're doing? If they don't feel confident in repairing something, then we say no, obviously, because these are volunteers at the end of the day. And then they will be taken over. They will be shepherded to the right table, and have their item looked at. So.
Perfect. I mean, that's lovely. I love the way that you're making sure there's confidence there before anyone touches anything, which I think is a big key thing, and it instills confidence in someone coming to you as well. Yeah,
exactly.
So I know you held your first session on Sunday, and I find the first session of anything, no matter how much planning you do, can be. You never know how it's going to go. How did it go? Can you tell us about it?
It was a little quiet, to be honest, but it wasn't different from what I've seen before in other sessions, especially when we're coming back after this, huge, this huge pandemic.
Oh, bloody yeah.
When, people are just slowly gaining the confidence to go out again. But we're carrying on, and we will be back on October 31st at 1 p.m. With another repair cafe, which we'd love to see people at.
Fantastic.
But if you sorry, I'm just going to do a little plug.
Oh, go for it.
If that's all right. But if you don't live in St Austell, if you find Cornwall Repair Cafe Network on Facebook, we'll be issuing an October programme where hopefully you'll be able to find a repair cafe which is going on nearer to you.
Perfect. Absolutely brilliant. Well, with that kind of thought and how things can expand and how they're hoping to expand, where do you see yourself in a few months' time?
Where do I see myself? Wow.
Well, with the repair cafe.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I'm not trying to probe you.
No. I was just thinking, goodness me. Right. So in terms of repair cafe, I would really like to see a bigger variety of fixes. Me and my colleague Gary are hoping that we have a kind of a larger pool of volunteers. And also people confident to bring their items there. We're a friendly bunch, and I'm going to start baking the cakes. So I don't know if that fills people with confidence or dread.
Oh,
to be
I'm
honest.
in.
Yeah. But we're really hoping that that we can expand on what we have on what we have. And it was quiet, but at the same time, we gave everyone 2 weeks' notice. So this time round, we're giving people more notice. And we also want to hear from our volunteers whether they've got ideas and suggestions and how we can expand in the future. And
Perfect.
we're a friendly bunch, as I said, and there's cake and coffee, tea. So.
I like that. Now, I want to talk about the Commonwealth Repair Cafe network, because obviously we've mentioned that a little bit. Okay. What is the network?
So the network is something, again, it was, I work for a local authority. I say a local authority. There is, in Cornwall, one local authority, which is Cornwall Council.
Of course.
At the time, I worked for the community engagement team for their waste and recycling. And we were looking at ways in which we can engage our communities and think about how people could reduce their waste. Now, waste reduction is very important, and one thing which sticks out is electrical waste, or as it's affectionately known as.
I do like that.
Yeah, and what we saw this as a way, and certainly inspired by my dad, who I mentioned earlier, who just used to fix things. We wanted to find a way in which people could set up these repair cafes more easily, and we spoke to a couple local repair cafes who were doing an absolutely splendid job, and we were asking the question we were asking is like, how can we support you? How can we get people to run their own repair cafes? What challenges did you face? And it was quite interesting. One was insurance, because we live in a risk-averse society, and we need to ensure that that repair cafe is insured. So we offer public liability insurance as volunteers under the network.
Right.
So the network supplies that. We also have illustrated how-to guide for how you can set up your own repair cafe. Mm-hmm. We've got a peer-to-peer network. Yes, that's Facebook. But actually, there's been some really good conversations, especially as we're coming out post-COVID. So we want to offer everyone the opportunity to run their own repair cafe networks without the challenges, some of those kind of more, some of those which are ahead of the game now.
Yeah.
And so by taking away that overhead of insurance, which is you can be anything between £250, £300, and for a community organisation that is a huge outgoing.
Yeah.
And we want people talking to each other, sharing ideas. They will also have council support as well in terms of kind of, as they're starting their repair cafe, we will of course help them and chat to them, talk to them, and find ideas and ways in which you can find a venue, you can advertise, you can promote. and all the way through to your fledgling cafe, which will hopefully see millions of people come in. So that's a bit of an exaggeration.
Oh, you never know.
Millions.
You never know.
Let's see what happens.
But that's absolutely brilliant. It's nice to see that that there's a lot of positivity towards joining and creating one. What would be the benefits, though, of joining the network for people who are maybe thinking about this? What would you say the benefits are?
Well, as well as saving that huge outgoing, benefit is that you are linked to, you are not doing this alone. You are linked into 16 other cafes. So before we set up, before COVID, my apologies, my brain's gone today.
So that's one of those days.
Yeah, it's a bit like that today. Before COVID, we had 16 cafes, 5 of which were just about to launch. Then COVID. So you will be plugged into this network, people who are either going through or have gone through the same process that you're going. And it's a way of... I think there is a real social benefit to them as well. It's not about getting your stuff fixed, not just about those new skills that you learn. It's about meeting people. And I think if there is a time, now is a good time to be engaging with people again. And, however much you want to, however little you want to, it offers an opportunity for people just to chat to other people. And, you've got these social benefits such as reducing loneliness, reducing isolation. And, the list of benefits is quite long when it comes to a repair cafe.
I can't agree with you more with that kind of social aspect, the loneliness, me actually having that social input again. I think, if anything, coronavirus has obviously highlighted how much actually we do need this. No matter how much of an introvert or an extrovert you may be, I think everyone on some level needs that. And it just gives you another way to get that without, because I feel there's a lot of stigma as well, and people think, I don't want to seem like I'm just needing that. So giving someone a reason, I need something fixed. In the back of their mind, they're going, I'll get to see some people and chat to people. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Now, Peter, could you remind us when and where these cafes are?
Okay, so the St Austell one is the last Sunday of every month. So we'll be going October, November, December, not so much. I don't think anyone will be able to go to that one. We'll be restarting in January. It will be 1 o'clock at the Community Bank opposite the old post office. And if you're interested in finding one closer to you, then you can go to Cornwall Repair Cafe Network on Facebook, and we'll be shortly publishing a programme for October.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, obviously, for taking the time to talk to us today.
No
it'd be lovely to have you actually back on the show to talk about this a little bit more, to hear about all the different repairs going on. Coming up next, we are going to take a look at debt awareness with our friends CTIC Plus. But for now, I'm going to say thank you very much, Peter. Lovely to have you on the show, and I'll catch you again soon.